Hello and welcome to the show. We are back at the Wreckoning with 3 more vehicles. Gonna see how far they can make it around this highly destructive test track. We start with an interesting prospect. This is the H25 Vandal. It is a slightly modified van. He's got a little bit more off-road orientated suspension. I think perhaps a little bit more power from the engine. It's not crazy fast though. It's not like the Baja vans and that kind of stuff. So it will be a matter of having to be a little bit careful to try and make up enough speed to clear the jumps. Of course, there's a fair amount of weight in all of this. That was very, very close to ending up in the gravel. It's not all the sand. That's not quite where we want to be. Yeah, we're going to try and make sure that we can make enough speed for the big jumps. If we can do that, then we will be potentially looking quite good. The issue is the bouncing that we have going on here is already giving us some grief. Oh, 48 is going to be cutting it quite fine. We were over just, but only just clear to that landing. The other issue with off-road suspension, we have seen it before on vehicles, is along with the bouncing, they can sometimes be a little susceptible to damage, like bending and twisting of the wheels. And if this is only just quick enough to make it across the jumps while in good condition, well, as we start hitting landings and it's going to take damage, we might come undone, or we might just puncture the radiator for, well, seemingly no reason. That's an odd one. Okay, I mean, I guess, well, you can kind of see the front, the beams and so on that have taken damage. I guess we took a little bit of damage on those landings, but I'm surprised to see that that would have got the radiator, or just got the speed to make it across there. Now, we should, I would imagine, not be too bad there. I mean, the real problem is that the radiator is gone already. Yes, the engines are not preheated, so we have a little bit more time in terms of, well, survivability. That kind of almost bounce across the harsh motocross section has twisted our steering to the point where we are now pulling a fair bit to the right, which is less than ideal. Oh, Christ. Oh, there we go. That's a... No, that's not straightened anything out. That's not a nice impact. Yeah, trying to get up that hill, and we were striking up a lot of speed with the car pulling very, very badly to the right. We're going to have a slow speed tumble across there, aren't we? Control is becoming an issue here. Come on, flip over, van. Thank you. Control is becoming a concern. Now, the suspension certainly had no issues with the rocks. I would imagine it's going to be more than capable of dealing with the potholes. The steering is a small concern in that I've got to try and keep the car on the track while staying down the preferred route over here, and I can't run it as close to the edge because the steering is pulling it around all over the place. We are, though, across there. It bounces a little bit up into the air, but nothing ever really looked like causing the van any harm. What is going to be a problem is it's overheating quite quickly at the moment. I mean, that's gone from no heat at all to, well, it's over halfway now. And while I think the van is still going to be driving come the end of this lap, or still potentially drivable, I think the issue is going to be that it's going to overheat before anything else gives out. I'm surprised to see that as well with this. It's not crazy turbocharged, hasn't got any of that. It's just, oh, that was a big hit on the front wheels. That's collapsed our front left suspension. That's not great news for us. That's just completely snapped all of the suspension off on the van. That's surprising, because it's got pretty heavy-duty suspension on it to begin with, and that's going to make matters certainly worse for the front left wheel. The front right, I think, is gone perhaps to a slight lesser extent. The rear of the van is still okay, but admittedly the rear is of slightly less concern, perhaps. Actually, I think in some ways I'd rather the rear be broken. It stops it bouncing around as much, although the vehicle itself will take heavier damage. Can this crawl its way around to a third lap? I don't know. I think it might end up going out a very, very similar place to the Blazer, to be honest. They probably have quite similar engines. Oh, we just made it across there. It was only just, mind. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Oh, I could do with as little stopping as possible now with this. I need to keep up my momentum. I need to keep going because we will, it seems, overheat relatively soon. That's not a good place, not a good angle to be at climbing up there. Have we still got the performance to climb over the pitch? Oh, just... That's a lot of damage done to that rear left, I think. Oh, God, that's another big crunch from the front of the truck as the suspension is all completely giving way. No, the rear left survived remarkably well, in fact. It hasn't even bent or cambered itself about whatsoever. We've got further than the Blazer. We have made it further than the Blazer. That'll put the van up into a third position for now. Oh, heck, gasket's gone. Oil's overheating. Can we make it down Pothole Alley? If we can do that, even with our suspension damage and so on, if we can get down here... Oh, God, steering is all over the place. Piston rings have gone. I can see the gantry for a third lap. We will make it on to lap 3. The engine is about to expire. No, don't bounce over that way. It has done some incredible wheelies, this truck. The engine is not gonna... if somehow the engine lives to make it towards that first big jump, which it won't, because it's about to die now coming up onto the bridge, I think. That's it gone. It's expired. It's expired. If I can put it in neutral, maybe we can roll it. Come on, roll. If we can just roll off the end of the bridge, we can keep going for a little bit further. We will make it across the bridge. We will make it down the other side, but I think we're going to end up actually coming to a rest because we can use gravity for a little bit down here, up to the giddy height of 22 miles an hour. But we are not going to make it across there, are we? We are going to run and stop here. It's going to run out of steam and park on the uphill section. Well, it made it onto its third lap. The wheels were buckled. The suspension was quite heavily damaged. It was still going. However, radiator got punctured very, very easily quite early on. Peculiar place to see the radiator go out. And again, we overheated pretty damn quickly around here. But, yeah, for now, a third place. To make it onto a third lap is certainly not bad going at all. So we move from a slightly off-road orientated van on to a race car. This is a 200BX Cup car. It is not crazy powerful. You know, we don't have 800 horsepower in this vehicle. It's not even got a turbocharged engine. However, that might actually be quite helpful around this. I'm hoping it'll have enough speed. It should have enough speed, I would imagine, to be able to make the jumps, although we've got... we have issues. We have issues with the race suspension. That's actually already bent up one of the front wheels. Okay, did not like those bumps. The downside, of course, with race suspension, while yes, it is perhaps inherently a little bit stronger than the car's standard suspension, it is not designed to deal with the bumps and so on in the same manner, and that can get us into a fair bit of bother. Oh, that's not a good place to have ended up. We were having some issues there with the... Again, with the crippled steering. Also, no options to put this car onto rally tyres. So we got racing slicks. Not really ideal, perhaps, for the dirt. I'm hoping we might still have enough grip. I do what I can with these cars, but if the configuration doesn't give me options to put rally tyres on it, I can't do anything about that one. So yeah, we are likely to be quite oversteery, but this is where the not having 800 horsepower might come in quite handy on the dirt. We got away with that as a fairly minor roll, thankfully, a fairly minor roll, all things considered. Yeah, suspension is not liking this. However, again, from previous experience, while the suspension might not like it, it might look painful. Race cars, and certainly a 200BX drift car, did very, very well at the Baja circuit. Now, this, of course, very, very different track, a lot more demanding on the cars. They don't get a rest, really, around here like they did at the Baja track. There is always punishment around every single corner. So whether this is going to survive as well as the likes of that drift car prove it could be done with not so suitable vehicles, I don't quite know. That's a big hit. That was a very, very big hit, and we have got some steering grief. Now, I don't know whether that wheel is completely disconnected. Right, we have problems with our race car. The wheel isn't disconnected. However, full left on steering has still got my front right wheel wanting to drag us in an awkward direction. Oh, we might just about get away. Come on, car. We're using a handbrake here. Oh, get it off of that hill. We might be okay. This is going to be trouble now. We may be able to limp it around with the use of a handbrake and so on, limp it around for a little while, but whether we can actually get the speed and the control up for the sort of the pit here, is where there are problems. I would much rather see that front right wheel fall off the car. Right now, I could do with that wheel falling off the vehicle. Rear-wheel drive is helpful in this. Get across the rocks. We are across. Actually, that trip across the pit has helped us. Our steering is a smidge better than it was previous, although that bump... No, we can bring it, I think, back onto... We can bring it back onto the road. It got bounced wide, but we have managed to bring it back. The potholes are going to be an issue. I thought they might be with a van. It wasn't too terrible. The problem we have now is I can't really put the car where I want to put it because we are going to run out of steering, I fear. We might actually... Oh, come on. Get around. I've just got to steer it left. I think we've got to run almost the left-hand side here rather than down the right-hand side because the car wants to pull constantly. These are not fun in a lowered race car. I say potholes. They're more craters, but... actually, the steering is slightly improved as we make it onto our second lap. I mean, we've gone further than the Stance Pazima, we're going to go further than the Pazima estate car, in fact, because that died on this corner. Yeah, the steering has actually been slightly improved, I think, by the potholes. It's kind of bent the chassis so that the wheel that's dangling is now affecting my ability to drive less, which is helpful. In fact, very, very helpful indeed. Can we get the speed up? It's not just the speed, it's can we aim the car? No, we can't get the speed up. Oh, come on, turn. Oh, this isn't good. This isn't good. Please accelerate. Accelerate 200 BX. Uh-oh. Oh, that's not good. That is not good at all. We're going to have come to a rest on its side with the car. Yeah. Very, very much dead. Drive shaft failure brought on really by steering issues. In fact, the steering issues happened almost immediately. The early bumps that haven't really caused many problems for any vehicles started the bend up of the steering here, and it just got worse and worse and worse. It did briefly get better. However, coming off of that bridge, we couldn't get the car to turn. The bumps, of course, not helping. We couldn't get the car to turn. And by the time we'd slowed it enough, if I hadn't slowed down, we would have ended up in the river. So by the time I got it slowed down and had to, with some handbrake assistance, got it turned, we were never going to have the space to accelerate in time to make it across the jump. And an awkward landing would see the drive shaft snapped. Had we not snapped the drive shaft, I think we survived okay in terms of steering. Yeah, we actually still did have some steering on the go. If anything, the steering might actually look better than it was previous, perhaps. But yeah, funnily enough, race car, cup car around the circuit, not quite so good. Although, again, didn't go up on its first lap. It did make it onto its second lap. I think it's a little bit behind, just a fraction behind the 94 Culvert and the Moonhawk. Didn't quite make it as far across that jump as they did. But yeah, not a terrible showing. And our final vehicle for today is going to be the Culvert. Now, we've actually had a relatively good episode so far in terms of vehicle survivability. The Culvert's not holding out a huge amount of hope for. Again, the car can't put rally tyres on, oddly. This is a completely base configuration of the car as well from the game. It's not even a mod, and there's no option for rally tyres here, so we are having to run with what we have got. Hopefully, I mean, it shouldn't be too crazy powerful that we're not going to spit all of its power away, and I think it should just about have enough speed to make it across the jumps cleanly. Certainly when it is in pristine condition it will. After pristine condition, who knows, really? I'm not sure on this one. It is very small and very light, likely and liable to be thrown about quite a lot on these jumps. Got a little bit more of a twist there than I would have liked, however, made it down the other side, no problem. Relatively, I say relatively high revving. We've got to work the engine quite a lot, and That's unfortunate that the radiator has gone there. Again, it's a relatively small bump it had on the landing. If anything, again, the first landing was the heavier one. Perhaps, though, that heavy opening landing might just loosen something to the point where that the radiator is then the next thing that gets damaged. But, I mean, it's a very similar place to the van. So, radiator's not holding out very well today. After the Grand Marshal's amazing showing, radiators today have not wanted to play ball. Ooh, now that I can understand killing a radiator, but the other ones... yeah, surprise, perhaps. This Culvert, though, is holding up very, very well. It's had a couple of pretty nasty landings on the front, but the wheel axles are okay. The suspension looks like it is doing a decent job. We've got good control over our car. We've got a good amount of speed as we come across the pit, although, it struggled getting up that hill. Did struggle getting up that hill. Not quite the performance, perhaps, in this car. Certainly not the first vehicle, though, to struggle with that. Now we have got some damage on the front wheels. We've got some camber. There's a little bit of toe as well, but it's not the sort that's undrivable. It's nowhere near as bad as we had on that 200BX either, so that is helpful. We can avoid Pothole Alley the way that... I say avoid Pothole Alley. You can't avoid Pothole Alley. It's just what line you choose to take down it. We can take my preferred line. We're still going to run across them here. They are still going to bounce the car about. And, ooh, for a car like this, they are significant, to say the least. But the Culvert is through and on to its second lap as well. Can it go further than the 94 Culvert? I think it just might. You know, I think we might go a little bit further. We are starting to pull, and we are going to potentially overheat quite quickly in the Culvert. Again, it's a car. I'm having to work the engine very, very hard to get the performance out of it. Third gear just isn't working around here. Second is going to have to do the job as we now head up towards this big jump. We are going at a decent amount of speed. It's a bit of a nasty hit on the front of the car, but we are landed. It wasn't sort of the crunching blow. Oh, the car's on fire. Car's on fire. Don't know what we knocked off there. Something has come off, and we are now on fire. I think this is our first... I can't actually remember if the 94 Culvert... I think this is our first fire on a car. It might not be a full-on fireball, though. We might not get the full fireball, like the entire car engulfed in flames. I think we'll overheat before we get to that stage, or we'll break a wheel axle before we get to that stage. This is a great showing from the Culverts, who have made it so far around on its second lap. The Culvert were one of the very first vehicles to drive in the Driven Till Destruction series at the Baja circuit. Did not survive very long at all around that circuit. Oh, we've lost a lot of steering here all of a sudden. That is not an ideal place to go with the Culvert, I will say that much. Oh, we are still okay. Because we landed on the back of the car, we're fine. It just didn't want to turn to the right there. I wasn't really intending on going up that part of the ramp. However, we did. We went for a bit of a twist. Car is still okay. On fire, but vehicle is still okay. Now, we are going to need all of the acceleration we can get if we're going to make it across the pit, because we struggled here last time. We're struggling even more this time around. That's going to be a wheel axle, and that is going to be it. And handbrake as it's going to come to a rest. Yeah, it was... look at that. That's why we couldn't accelerate. That is the angle the front wheels are at. Just the friction from that toe angle is going to seriously hamper our acceleration, and unable to get the speed required. Not only that, I mean, we're taking such a battering on the front of this car already by now. It's hardly surprising to see the car go out, but it made it. I mean, it made it a good way round its second lap. It's not quite as far as the Blazer, but it isn't that far down. It's not that far down on the Blazer, and that was a big off-road SUV. The little hatchback, has survived remarkably well. The fire is now starting to take hold. If it wasn't for the fact the wheel axle was broken or it was overheating, I suspect the fire would have got it fairly quick. A lot of things could have killed the Culvert in the end. Yeah, wheel axle across the pit, having sustained a lot of front-end damage. But I think a better showing than perhaps many people were expecting. Better showing than perhaps I was expecting as well from the Culvert. So we are on to our leaderboard map, and the best car of the day is the Vandal. The H25 moves up into a third place. It was a good showing from that vehicle, although again, it's another one surprisingly fast overheating, much like the D-Series Blazer, although you can see how much further around the course it got than the Blazer. Things are starting to get quite crowded at that first river jump, especially with cars going out on lap 2, as the 200BX would slot into that section a little bit behind the Moonhawk Daytona and the 94 Culvert. I think we're finding as cars are getting more and more damaged around the opening lap, that's the first real big test on the second lap, and if the car isn't got the speed anymore to make that jump, that is a heavy impact. Although successes with that lap 2, the Culvert is up in 5th place, not that far down on the Blazer. I think that's a great show from the Culvert. A little bit unfortunate. I mean, it was on fire, it was overheating, the wheels at the front were starting to get increasingly buckled. A little bit unfortunate it couldn't have crawled perhaps a little further around. However, yeah, a good showing from that Culvert indeed. Although out front, the Grand Marshal is still leading the way by some considerable margin. That, though, is going to be it for this video. As ever, I shall link all the mods I've used in the description, so you can download them, have a go with them yourself. But thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.